Ah, the holidays. A time for giving, a time for getting, and a time for going and going
and going and going and going and going.
When you need a break, we're here, helping you make sense of all the good and the going of the holidays. Happy holidays from all of us at ubnradio.com.
Hey, everybody. It is Wednesday, December the 16th. I'm Emerson Collins.
And I'm Del Shores.
And you're listening to the Del and Emerson Show.
Straight talk.
Real gay! For our Homo Holiday Show.
Look at your gay apparel.
I know. Can everybody see? I wore my festive shirt. You know how you get invited to all those Christmas parties and people say, don we now wear gay apparel or dress festive? And I'm like, look, y'all, I'm gay enough. So I made a shirt that says, this is my gay apparel. With Santa sort of doing like, yes!
It's amazing.
So it's real gay.
I love the hoodie.
So it's for my festive holiday
I got one coming.
attire. Yes, and I had one more. I did Ho Ho Homo.
I'll wear it next week.
But the website had some trouble. They were supposed to be shipped out for people to wear to holiday parties, and it's not coming until the weekend. So you'll get to see it next week.
Yes, they gave me a refund on my postage.
I'm not responsible. I apologize. I can only design the couture clothing and hope for the best.
I'm looking forward to spending that $3.99. It was a gift.
Good. You don't spend it all in one place.
So let's talk about last night, Emerson Collins.
Last night.
You were fantastic.
Thank you. We told you last week that Blake and I were singing on Sparkle, a holiday concert event to benefit the Actors Fund that Scott Nevins produces and hosts every year. And so we did it last night, and I sang I'll Be Home for Christmas.
He was wonderful, y'all. Wonderful.
Blake sang Jesus, What a Wonderful Child,
which
a little
was
gospel moment.
Crazy.
And of course, it was full of phenomenal Broadway and television performers. Julie Garnier got a standing ovation for doing Silent Night and Oh Holy Night. It was absolutely stunning.
I was a little upset because I felt like that Oh Holy Night's my song. I don't know why I wasn't asked, but you know, she did okay.
It's tough. It's tough.
Because I can really sell that Fall on Your Knees.
Yes. Amazing. And Frankie Grande from Big Brother was there. Wilson Cruz was there. Haviland Stillwell, Milena Govich, who is from MTV's Finding Carter. And the two huge special guests, Lonnie Anderson read 'Twas the Night Before Christmas.
And you got to hang out with her some. She seemed like such a sweet human being.
She was so kind. And, you know, Scott always gets these amazing, sort of particularly gay icons to do it. It's amazing. Carol Channing's done it, all these great people. And Lonnie was so perfect and delightful and charming. But the big moment of the night was Lorna Luft, Judy Garland's daughter, a phenomenal entertainer in her own right, shared the story of fighting breast cancer, and the Actors Fund that this benefits helped her through that process. And she sang Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas that was written, of course, for Judy Garland. And it was this sort of jaw-dropping, tear-inducing moment to see her tell her survival story and then sing this song so iconically associated with her mother. It was amazing.
And what did she say? She said something like, how many people can say that a Christmas standard was written for a family member?
Yeah.
And it's weird when you see her up there and you go, oh my God, that's Judy Garland. That's her daughter.
Yeah.
She was so sweet.
Yes.
And touched my heart. She
a
really
wonderfully generous and genuine human being.
Funny.
And we raised a lot of money for the Actors Fund that does great work for people in our industry in need, not actually just actors. And Scott does a great job putting on the show, so it was really a blast, and I had a great time.
When I was just an actor many years ago and Deadass broke, they paid my rent one year.
Nice.
I mean, not for the whole year, but 1 month they paid my rent. You have to go meet and fill it out. It's a little bit like, and they were just so, yes, of course.
Yeah.
And I had not many credits at that point, maybe divorce court and a couple of Coors commercials, but it was really kind of them.
Nice.
And so I always give to that organization because of that.
And so and we're thrilled to do it. I'll get up and sing a song for a really good cause, and so we had a really great night.
Well, thank you for entertaining. Ann Walker was there.
Yes, she was, and we appreciate y'all coming to support. For our Homo Holiday Show, we have come up with a ridiculous idea for our ridiculous show that you guys love to listen to. So we're going to tell you the gifts that we would give to some of the figures, both positive and negative, that have made it possible for us to do this radio show this year because we have talked an awful lot about them. So to thank them, both good and bad, we're going to tell you the gifts that we would give to these figures from our news stories. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. What would you give Kim Davis for Christmas?
A new wardrobe.
Oh my gosh, I said the same thing. A Kohl's gift card. I said Kohl's. I felt like that was really
you
like.
got more specific.
I felt like that was like the Bergdorf's for her would be Kohl's. So see, it was a positive. What would you give Donald Trump?
A windstorm.
Oh, like a giant Beyonce fan.
I just want
Permanent.
that swoop dude to just blow.
Like that bald eagle that started to rip that comb back off his head.
I feel like it's sewn on at this point.
I mean,
we have not gotten one of those. I feel like it's
what
it's
happens in the front
thread.
underneath. Yeah. I said that I would give him some under eye self tanner because if you're gonna go Oompa Loompa orange, you need to do like all of it. It's awkward that the little goggle spot. Where it is so pink and everything else is
Do you think
Boehner.
it's like they just spray him and
I figure it's got to be a spray tan, and so they put the goggles on. But what he needs is some kind of cream because that awkward raccoon thing. Like John Boehner doesn't look like that, and he's Oompa Loompa orange. Figure it out. What would you give to Ted Cruz?
I would give him laser to zap those capillaries on his nose.
The alcoholic nose thing.
And I would also give him a lower voice. Oh my God, that voice is just driving me fucking crazy every time. I can't. The politics aside, I cannot listen to him for 4 years. I just can't.
No, we've already been listening too long.
No, too long.
Well, I would give Ted Cruz, I couldn't decide. I wanted him to have a gay kid, but I don't want to punish the child. So instead, I said I would give him a week in Fire Island Pines with those homosexual Republican hotel owners for him to just sit and watch the awkward homosexual activity all week long.
Now, what did you say about the kid again?
Well, I would like for him to have a gay kid so that, maybe you could have your come to Jesus of like, here's what it's like.
How about a gay kid like us?
Well...
then it would be okay, I think.
Yes.
'Cause someone who gives it, maybe a lesbian daughter, real, like, just
yeah.
like, daddy, fuck you.
A Julie Goldman. That's what he needs. A Julie Goldman
that's
daughter.
what we,
there it is. We got
Let
to
him
it.
have those capillaries.
Yeah.
I want him to have a daughter like Julie Goldman.
Yes.
That's what I want.
And Pappy Robertson, what would you give him?
I would give him an obituary.
I said a cyanide pill. I said a cyanide pill.
I was like, it could be a
We're in the
coffin or a speech at his funeral. I would love to have, maybe they invite me to read one of my letters to him at his funeral.
Yes. A coffin ready to wear. And then finally, James Manning, the Harlem pastor that's given us so much joy this year.
I
just wanted to give him a semen latte. I'm gonna make it myself. He spent so much time talking about those Starbucks coffees full of semen. I said, here, Pastor James, those homosexual demons you struggled with once. Here, I made you a latte. I figure it's my version of Octavia Spencer's shit pie in The Help. Here, I made you a coffee. It's a semen latte.
I'm giving him nothing because you win. You win on that one. There is nothing that could be better than that. I love that.
I made it myself. I do. That's my little nod to Octavia. On the positive end of the spectrum, some of the headlines we talked about a lot in positive ways. What would you give to Caitlyn Jenner?
I would give her some advice.
Yes, what would that be?
I would say you need to shut up for just a little bit and listen more. And you really need to look at people, digest who they are, and get out of. I think there's some work to be done there, and I think that maybe just get out of the spotlight just a little bit to learn.
People have been saying that. We're going to get to a story about her later. I said I would give her a few books on queer history because I think part of the coming out process for anyone and everyone really is there's a long period of narcissism where it's all about you and your relationships and your opening that part of yourself to the world that has been hidden for so long. And I think that's inherent, and I think it's only magnified with her celebrity. So some books on like the rest of the queer journey that she probably hasn't had time to sort of learn a lot of the history that would, I think, help her avoid some of the current issues. What would you give Steve Grand?
I would give him a really, really long hug because I feel like that he got beat up a lot and undeservedly, and I thought he handled it really well. But I know what it's like to sit behind that computer and read that, and I would have just liked to have been there and go, "Come here, Steve." And plus, he would have felt really good.
It would have been a good hug. You'd have gotten something out of that hug too.
It's a little
self-serving. That's okay. That's giving is supposed to be. You give something, the other person enjoys it, and it makes you feel good
too. A little
too.
closer, Steve. I just really want to make you feel better.
I would give him a handful of skimpy Speedos and say, sir, with your incredible talent and all of the work that you do for charity and enriching people's lives with your music, I want you to post some more photos in those Speedos. I will always pay attention to your talent. I just enjoy the visual as well.
Yeah, we're all good with
What would you give Jim Obergefell, the plaintiff who made, the Supreme Court decision this year possible?
I don't think there's anything that could be given to him that warrants what he did for us, and I would love him to find another love.
That was what I put.
And happiness with somebody else, and I know that his husband would be very happy about that because of what he's done for us.
That's what I said, and not necessarily whether it's another singular love or whether it's just a life filled with love and strong friendships and new enjoyable relationships. Yes, for the gift that he's given us, I hope that there is only joy, literally for the rest of his life. And finally, to Anthony Kennedy and the other 4 Supreme Court justices that were on our side in the epic decision this year, what would you give them?
Rainbow robes.
Yes. Wait, could you do like one in each color? You do like red, orange, yellow, green, and blue.
Would
just
it be
save
enough?
the purple. I feel like we'd get it. It would look rainbow bright enough. I
just think that would be such a great visual.
I'd like to give them all a big old switch that they can use on that racist Antonin Scalia when he gets out of line. Crack him on the knuckles.
What about Clarence Thomas? I mean, someone needs to just get, instead of a switch, just a hand.
Well, Scalia's been worse lately.
He has.
All right, well, and then we have a couple
I think we did
of
pretty good.
gifts. Did you come up with people for these categories?
I did.
Okay, great. Who would you like to give talent to?
Well, because I really like him, but he needs some talent. Keanu Reeves, I would really love to give him more talent.
And nice.
And Taylor Lautner, I just stop acting or grab some acting lessons and some talent. And this, I'm going to get in trouble for this, but because she was precious and she was on American Horror Story, but I think she's so overrated. Is Gabby Sidibe? I think that her acting is just borderline amateur and horrible. Sometimes I'd like to give her a dose of good talent.
Well, all right. I chose.
Awful?
Well, no,
Is it
that's
awful?
okay. I could get crap from mine too. I would like to give talent to those bitter queens on the internet that don't have anything but free time to say terrible things about people that are out in the world trying to make an impact. The kind of people who cave for Steve Grand about the kind of photos that
I'm
he
with
posts.
you.
The kind of people that
Yep.
complain about Gus Kenworthy and what he's doing now that he's out and publicly. Here's the thing: like, if you're just angry and sad sitting behind your computer, like, go outside, do something else. If you don't like what these people are posting, what they're doing, you don't have to believe that they represent you in our community or out in the world. You do not have to like them, but you are giving of your time to write terrible things about them. Because I guess the gift I'd really like to give them more than talent is the ability to look away.
Well, I've said it before. I mean, if your only activism is criticizing others, that's not valid.
Right. That's not activism.
No, it's not.
And look, I'm all for being funny and whatever, but like, get off the cross, honey. Somebody needs that wood.
Absolutely.
Who would you like to give a long vacation to?
We didn't do Shut the Hell Up.
They're in order.
Oh, okay. A long vacation.
Oh, I guess I redid it. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't get the rewrite, Emerson.
Go ahead.
I'd like to give. We talked about him before, Pat Robertson. I'd like to give him a vacation.
That's a permanent vacation.
That's
not
Jesus. I want to give him a vacation to Jesus.
Go ahead and go home to glory.
I'd like to give all these hateful so-called Christians a really long vacation. In fact, I would like to just trade them for good Muslims.
Oh, there you go. That's a good choice. Happily,
right?
yes. Send them all to Bible camp for the summer.
Just get rid of them.
See, y'all need
Outta
to read
here.
that and focus on, reprioritize what you focus on.
Trump is wrong. We're gonna get rid of y'all.
Yeah.
We're gonna send y'all away.
I would like to send the entire Kardashian Jenner clan on a long vacation. Like, just take a break. 2016, take it off. Come back in 2017 with new clothes and lines and TV shows, but just go away for a minute. Who would you give who would you like to give Shut the Hell Up for Christmas?
Well, after watching the debate last night, I just most of them, but Trump. I mean, I would just want him to shut. I would like shut the fuck up. And Ben Carson made me so angry last night, starting his opening statement. But let's have a moment of silence. Really. You didn't mean that, and it was such a tiny moment.
That was the hilarious part.
It was just ridiculous. I cannot.
I would like to take a moment of silence.
Stand him.
Okay, and we're moving on.
So, yeah.
I would like to give Shut the Hell Up to the cast of Vanderpump Rules. They need to take some seats. They need to calm
especially
down.
James.
Like the James season, I'm a little ready to be done.
I'm done with him.
Like can we get back to some of the originals, the OGs, the ones that I love?
You know what was the most shocking thing that says so much about him? If any of y'all don't watch this, I'm sorry. Was
No,
that
you're
his
not.
mother said that she was proud of him, and I thought, okay, that explains a lot.
Yeah.
If you are proud of that piece of shit acting, I mean, because I think it is mostly acting. He needs some talent.
I know, because you know who said any publicity is good publicity? A terrible person.
Yeah, that is not. I mean, spitting. I just want to spit on him next time I see him. I just want to go into
Try that.
Pump.
He DJs at Pump. Go
I
ahead,
know,
drop
go-
by.
What would happen if I just spit on the wall right by him?
I mean, you might
Would
get
Lisa-
arrested for us. Oh, on the wall. That'd
But
be fun.
on the wall, like he did it at Kristen, which I can't even say anything nice about her either. It's really hard.
And then finally, who would you give a comeback to? Who would you like to see back in the forefront of the news or performing?
Winona Judd.
Oh,
I would
good
love to have
choice, good
Winona
choice.
Judd, because I like anybody who's talented and fucked up. I just love her so much. I would love to give Jenna Elfman, who was Dharma. I think she's one of the funniest women ever. I'd love, and maybe that's not, maybe she doesn't feel like she needs a comeback. But Faith Ford, who was a friend of mine who was on Murphy Brown.
How long's this list?
It's two more. No, one more. Jane Curtin.
Okay.
I want Jane Curtin back.
Well, good. Well, I only have one. Hayden Christensen got so much crap for how terrible the last round of Star Wars movies were, and I think he's a phenomenally talented actor. He did a movie called Life is a House that I just thought was genius. I thought he was brilliant
He was
in it.
so good in that movie.
And so as Star Wars opens tomorrow and through the weekend, he was on my mind a little bit because I thought he was done a very great disservice by that industry of Star Wars. So
Yeah.
that was my thought.
All
Well,
right.
those are our Christmas presents out to the world. Real quick. And then did you want to say are you going to save that for next week?
Well, we are. Since you said next week, you're not going to be here next week,
I
so we
won't.
may as well tell everybody we're going to have a kind of a sorted Christmas here. I have Rosemary Alexander, Newell Alexander, Dr. Evan Wardell, and Miss Ann Walker they're going to join me here. And we're going to talk about the gratitude that we have for the people who are supporting our new movie, A Very Sordid Wedding, and the people who have ponied up money and said we want to invest in this. So we want to thank the investors, and we will be doing that some more next week.
All right. Well, in our equality update, two quick stories. First off, there's been a sad story going on of two lesbians' relationship ended, and one of them is the biological mother of their 3 children. The other partner had adopted the children with her blessing during the relationship. They have since broken up, and the biological mother has done something that's sort of really disgusting. She has abused the way LGBT people are treated in our legal system because they now live in Alabama. The adoptions were done in Georgia, and she has been claiming that because Alabama doesn't recognize the out-of-state adoption, she doesn't have to let her former partner see the children. And I just feel like that's really gross because as a member of our community, to be using laws that really are a disservice against us in a fight with your ex-partner is kind of makes you a terrible human being.
It really does. And I mean, I was thinking about this story today because we don't know what the breakup was about. We don't know much about this. But just using that it's truly, you're right, disgusting. It's so wrong.
Well, the Supreme Court has ruled while they go through the rest of the phase of the court case that she will be able to see the children over the holidays, and she hasn't seen them since April. So that will be lovely, I would think, for their family for the holidays. Our second equality update, Greece has had a long and struggling process to get to domestic partnerships, civil unions, and a long way from same-sex marriage because of the extreme Orthodox right wing of their church in Greece. But they are over 2 years ago, they were fined by the European Court of Human Rights for not allowing same-sex couples to at least enter domestic partnerships. Well, the parliament is finally taking the first steps to legalize same-sex unions. But an Orthodox preacher, Ambrosios of Kalavirta, I didn't say that right, has called on his faithful to do the following. This is a preacher in a church in Greece. Spit on them, blacken them, vote against them. They are not human. They are freaks of nature, mentally and spiritually sick. They are mentally insane. Wherever you see them, spit on them. Don't leave them in peace. They are dangerous. This is a pastor of an Orthodox Greek church. And here's the interesting thing, because I've read a lot of the Bible many, many times. And so if your belief is they are not human, they are freaks of nature, mentally and spiritually sick, aren't you called to heal them? Shouldn't you be
That's
sending
what it
prayers?
says. That's what the Bible
even if
says.
that's what you believe, which obviously we don't, but if that's what you believe, you should be praying for these people. I don't think spitting on them is all that biblical.
He's doing all kinds of wrong here.
So, struggles around the world for the rest of our community. All right, let's flash through the gay news. A huge, exciting Monday night for you as Adele's concert aired for an hour on NBC. What did you think?
I just, you know what? I thought, okay, I was behind and everything, and I thought I'm just gonna check it. I'm just gonna check it and watch it later because I want to see the voice and blah. I watched it and the commercials from start to finish. It was so brilliant. She is so amazingly human and lovely, and I fucking love Adele.
Yeah.
Just love her, love her, love her.
I thought it was brilliant. I mean, the marketing team from the release of all of this deserves all of the applause because the way they set this up in that beautiful gown with the black and white image of her behind her and then the gold projected up all the way above made it look instantly timeless and classic. It's sort of a throwback to Barbara and Judy and those kind of iconic people who could just stand at the center of a stage and sing. And I thought the vocals were incredible. I loved the new songs that we hadn't heard
and
her
she just
do
gave
live.
us enough of the old classics, just like 3 or 4.
The big ones.
Yeah.
And then the banter in between, her sort of charmingly getting worked up emotionally about how excited she was to share the new music with everyone and how overwhelmed she was by the positive response
nervous,
in the
how
room. And I thought it just sort of represents one, because I didn't know, through having loved the music up to now, I didn't really know that much about her. I hadn't watched a lot of interviews through the Grammy round of the last album. So this sort of been my first experience with her between SNL and all of this, and to see that she seems to be such a delightful human being.
Well, we didn't see this side of her last time. We didn't see the SNL. We didn't see.
Well, she was on SNL last time. I just wasn't paying attention to.
I don't
that
think
stuff.
that we saw what you're talking about, though, where they've marketed this one in a way where we kind of get to know Adele a lot better.
Yeah.
But more back then, she was just stepping on the stage and just delivering one great vocal after another. But I had 2 moments that I really loved. I love that she said, "I never remember. It's all fuzzy. I'm going to remember every moment of this." And then I just loved her collapsing in tears
at the end.
Yes. And they're closing it off and everything. But it was like, that's a true human emotion. Like, I got through it. I did it. It's done. It was like, oh.
How crazy that her man, because of when they met and where it was in her career, this was his first time seeing her do a big concert.
That was
amazing to me.
Yeah.
So I thought it was great and delightful and sort of inspirational that it's enough just standing and singing, because there aren't many people in our current artist landscape.
I can't wait to see what the ratings
that
are.
trust that. All right, moving on. Golden Globe nominations came out last week, and full disclaimer, I've only seen like 2 of the movies because I don't watch all of the Oscar bait movies until after the holidays because I'm busy watching Christmas films. But we had great representation for the LGBT community, and just Carol, the great lesbian romance starring Rooney Mara and Cate Blanchett, topped the list with 5 nominations, including film and for both actresses. The Danish Girl, Eddie Redmayne, telling the story of one of the first prominent transition women who actually transitioned. Received 3, including his performance. Lily Tomlin was nominated for Grace and Frankie and for the movie Grandma. Transparent, of course, tearing up with the nominations with Jeffrey Tambor, Judith Light, and the series. Sam Smith's Bond theme was nominated. Lady Gaga was nominated for American Horror Story.
Yeah, I was surprised. I was a little bit surprised, but I love that she was.
I wasn't. The Golden Globes are such star fuckers.
Well, they are.
Like,
you're right.
I mean, it's they do a really good job of rewarding like really new things. They're very open to new things, but also they're really big on like really, really big international stars because they are the foreign press.
Right.
I think she's phenomenal, but it's interesting when shows get nominated in the middle of a season. And then, of course, Queen Latifah was nominated for playing the bisexual Bessie Smith. And
you have a problem with her.
I do. We've talked about it. I don't even need to go into it. But so some great LGBT representation on the list, and many of them also reflected in the SAG Award nominations as well. So we'll get way deep into those discussions when we get closer to the award shows in the new year, and we've actually watched the movies.
I know. I've seen a couple of these, but I haven't. They're all sitting on my.
Because Dale's a big, famous, successful director and writer. He gets those screeners, and
Yes.
the funniest part is because he's one of the only people we all know that's that successful. He has a library. He has to like check him out because people take him and then don't bring him back.
You're not supposed to do that. You're not.
Oh, stop.
You're not
Just
supposed
our
to say
friends.
that. Yes, just people who I could say, help me vote, help me vote.
Share your opinions, please. The entire y'all don't tell anybody that.
Yes. all 100. We just got our ratings, by the way, today. Thank you, Tony Sweet, for sending those to me. And we actually had our biggest month last month in November. So thank you all for listening. We hit over 140,000 listeners last month.
Thank y'all for keep coming back.
So somebody's going to tell the Academy.
I really don't think they are. The great movies, then we all want to see them. A couple of exciting new TV things. Transparent Season 2 is now streaming on Amazon, so that's exciting. And then Netflix just announced a new film called Diva Nation, starring Goldie Hawn, Bette Midler, and Diane Keaton as members of a once popular singing group forced to reconnect after their volatile split and 30-year estrangement.
It's so great.
I mean,
you know that Chris Pudlow died.
Literally, every homosexual on my Twitter timeline
just
lost their minds, and myself included.
As well.
If this was a real movie, I'd camp out for this.
Yes, this is so exciting. So,
all right, flesh it out.
All right,
well,
this story.
I love
We've
it.
got
It's
Catholic
ridiculous.
Priest who stole millions for rentboy from his congregation. Reverend Peter Micheli is accused of stealing more than $1 million in donations in order to pay for sex and support his rent boy lover. A lawsuit filed by parishioners accuses him of stealing cash from the donation plate from various churches he's just going from one church to another in order to purchase, are you ready for the list? Hot tub, drugs, and sex toys. It was reported that he had an ongoing S&M romance with Keith Christ, ironically, or Christ. Is it
Probably
maybe
Chris, but let's go with Christ. It fits the story.
Who insisted Michele call him master and drink his urine.
I mean, the body of Christ, the blood of Christ, the urine of Christ.
So that's
the urine of Christ, that's the third part.
You start reading this story, and you just lost me. Donations are placed in locked bags, but he put the money in unlocked bags that he counted himself in his bedroom, occasionally even leaving foot-high stacks of it laying around. He even hired Chris to work as the parishioner's new business manager. The allegations went back 10 years, and he has yet to be disciplined. I mean,
this is crazy because it's like all of the everything all in one story to me. You've got like a priest, a Catholic church scandal, millions of dollars. Do you know how many stacks of like ones and fives you have to steal out of collection plates to get to $1 million? Like, I don't think people are putting hundies in the like offering plate.
It was like his own little Indiegogo campaign.
Not little. That's the part I'm obsessed with. Also, good for this rent boy who like found a plush dill. It's
really?
Like, hey, give me $1 million and drink my pee.
It's interesting to me, though. It says a lawsuit filed by parishioners. Are they filing it against him personally or the Catholic Church?
Him and the church, I believe.
Because I have not finished it yet because I started watching on it. Spotlight, amazing storytelling about the Catholic Church and the molestations.
I'd way rather see this movie.
I know. It's like R-rated Lifetime.
Yes, Michael Lucas or one of those porn studios should do like the hardcore version of this film. Like, just do it all.
The Priest.
All right, Flash on. And really interesting, I thought, a new Gallup survey based on interviews with 121,000 people. It's the largest undertaking of its kind as far as the survey goes. Estimated that actually in the U.S., the LGBT community makes up 3.4% of U.S. adults. That old 1 in 10 number that everybody throws around was from a very small survey that's not really ever been that based in a large statistical analysis. And it was interesting because a lot of people talked a lot about that much of the representation of the LGBT community is wealthy, white, gay men.
Right.
And actually, within the ethnicities, whites are the lowest. It's 4.6% of African Americans, 4.3% of Asians, 4% of Hispanics, and only 3.2% of white people.
Wow.
And also, it turned out that more than 5% of those with annual incomes under 30 grand identified as LGBT, compared with only 2.8% of over 60 grand a year. So we are also lower proportionally in both education and income. And I found that really interesting because I think it reflects the challenges that so many LGBT people face in coming out. Now, this is conjecture on my part, but to think that you have to be out to be willing to answer a survey and say that you are LGBT, and because of disownership, because of rejection in community, because of the challenges of hiring, particularly for trans people, it actually makes a lot of sense to me that statistically we as a community across the board are lower represented there. And I don't think it's about a desire for education or a desire for higher end jobs. It's many many of the difficult experiences of coming out and being accepted can impact where and how you get education and what kind of jobs you're willing to apply for or can be given.
True.
So I found it a really interesting
that makes sense.
reflection that sort of flies in the face of the way we have kind of marketed ourselves to succeed in legal campaigns and entertainment.
Well, I was just thinking is for 3.7 you say? 3.4, we've gotten a lot of attention in 2015.
I know. Well, I also think that's why there are certain kinds of those straight people on Twitter that are like, is there any show that doesn't have a gay?
Right.
Like, well, sorry, we're really popular right now.
Look,
so
we're making up
thanks.
for lost time.
Right. You've had 5,000 years of civilization to be portrayed really well, and all we have is like some Greek vases
in Philadelphia
that we were like on the side of. I learned about that from the birdcage. All right, flashing on.
All right. Well, we all remember the activist Rives Miller Grogan, who was very disruptive on the first day of the Supreme Court gay marriage hearings. He said, if you support gay marriage, then you will burn in hell. He pled guilty for the disruption and asked for probation, saying his protests were rooted in his Christian faith, saying, me being a Christian, Jesus got to proclaim it everywhere. He was sentenced to 21 days in jail for the interruption. I found another quote that he has now said. He goes, I will spend 21 days in jail, but you will spend an eternity in hell.
That's a fair trade.
Said, and I think it was meant for you, Emerson. I think
he came to me directly. Well, we all work with what we got. That's fine.
Enjoy your stay.
Good
Enjoy
luck.
your stay there.
Don't drop the soap. All right, flashing on. This story makes me bonkers. Stephanie Walsh is a trans woman whose story has been shared through a number of media outlets recently. She left a wife and 7 kids when she transitioned because her wife said, stop being trans or leave. So it was clearly an incredibly difficult process for her, and something we've begun to hear more and more about the journey and challenge of trans people, and many of them who are, because of the growth in our culture, are able to come out now older and later. And so in response to the situation, that's incredibly sad and incredibly difficult, I'm sure, for their family. But the way she's handled it is interesting. She has said she does not want to be an adult right now, so she lives as a 6-year-old girl with 2 adoptive parents. She has found a couple to, quote, adopt her, and she is living as a 6-year-old. She started as an 8-year-old, but one of the couple's granddaughters wanted to be the big sister, so she said, that's fine, I'll be 6 instead. Stephanie describes it as therapeutic play therapy. She says, we have a great time, we color, we do kid stuff. No medication, no suicidal thoughts, I just get to play. It's a fresh start. There's unconditional love. I'm starting to feel like I'm allowed to be exactly who I am, and I don't have to apologize or make excuses why I'm different.
Well, I have so many questions. First of all, where does she get her money? Are they paying for the
Maybe
adoptive parents?
Maybe from her professional life before. She has some savings that's being involved. Here's my first of all, her name is Stephanie, and not to be really rude, but only a little. It is spelled Stefon, like Stefan, Nee, Knee, Nee, Stefan Nee.
Was he Stefan before?
I don't know what her name was prior.
Wow.
But and here's the thing. Life is hard. I get it. Life is hard. But, like, we all got to be grown-ups. I don't get to be like, sorry, I don't want to be a grown-up today. I'm going to play with, like, blocks in the living room and pretend that, like, the harsh, difficult adult world out there isn't there. I'm just going to ignore it.
Is that why we don't have real jobs? We just kind of float
Well,
around?
kind of. I mean, I feel like we do the compromise. Like, we play for a living, sort of, but, like, we still got to get checks at the end of it. And I get that it's difficult, and certainly she shares clearly there must have been some suicidal thoughts at some point, and so dealing with that is great. And I mean, I guess whatever kind of therapy works for you, but like, ma'am.
Why didn't you? I want to know, in organizing our show, why isn't this checking in with Crazy?
Well, because I feel like, hey, look, we all
Just
deal how we
she's
got to
trans.
deal.
I mean, we got crazy within our communities. This is crazy.
Well, I feel like
This is-
I mean, I'm not going to judge the, like,
I
we all
am.
deal how
I
we
am.
do. Mine is to watch The Real Housewives. Hers is to play.
I'm judging,
Is
John.
to play, dress up with a 6-year-old, play blocks.
That's crazy, Emerson. That's just, I mean, I think any good therapist, thank you, John.
Well, I feel like the real concern is, like, it sounds like what you need to do is to be actually, like, seeing an actual therapist. Like, you can play with children.
Just one therapist. This needs a team.
I feel like a really qualified person could handle the underlying issues.
This needs to be like, as long as she's playing with those, as a child, that's what she should be in therapy several hours a day.
I see. My concern is for that other
Stephanie.
child, the 7-year-old granddaughter who's like going to go to school and be like, "Here's my best friend."
And they're going,
She's sick. This is my little sister.
"Can she?"
No, she's not.
She does not
She's
fit
not.
in that desk.
She's
Get
not.
her out of here.
She's not. Well, Stephanie, we wish you all the best and all the luck, but you should see someone professionally as well to help you with what is clearly proving to be a difficult process.
I love the way we act as if they're all just listening to our show.
Well, maybe she does. We don't know.
Stephanie, you are worthy of adulthood. Anyway, okay. Well, we got.
And flashing out.
I promised penis stories, and we have one. Oh, because that's straight talk, real gay. The penis painter. One of them. There are two penis painters.
Multiple.
There's a couple of them that have that talent. France Got Talent. He got on the air, and we have pictures of it. But Brent Ray Frazier is a penis painter. He has gained internet fame for painting with his erect penis. Not to be confused with Picasso, who does the same thing.
Picasso's the one that does like presidents. He did Donald Trump and.
I just love Picasso.
Mm-hmm.
I think it should be Priscasso. Well, Brent auditioned for France Got Talent. He walked out on stage. He dropped trowel, grabbed his dick with a handful of black paint, and proceeded to paint for a minute and a half. Revealed the painting, and it was one of the judges. Now, again, so many questions I have.
What?
Well, okay. Sometimes it takes a while to get erect. I mean, you were in a TV show. Does he have time to get it hard?
I'm sure, like porn stars, he was stood backstage. All he had on was a robe, and he was naked, fluffing, ready to go.
Or perhaps some Viagra could help.
Yes.
I don't know. It was. Whew.
I don't feel like that's a complicated question.
But this would not happen in the United States.
No, it wouldn't. It's part of what I loved about it. It was like that the French judges were like laughing and having a great time, and then when he turned it around, and it was, I would just wish that someone had done it in Britain, and it was turned around, and it was Simon Cowell painted with a penis.
Well, he is really hot, though. He's a hot, great body.
Well, watch the video, and if you haven't, check out some of Picasso's work as well. He's got tons of videos of him doing it, and it's a fascinating visual. Flashing on. This is sort of serious, and in our ongoing discussion about how LGBT people are treated equally and not in various aspects of our society. We talked a lot about education. Title IX of the Education Amendments of 1972 forbids sex discrimination, and there's been a lot of expansion of that through the last year and a half to include gender identity and sexual orientation. However, there is a caveat in it that allows schools controlled by religious organizations to apply for a waiver from the non-discrimination requirement in that. So essentially, religious institutions that are higher level institutions can apply for a waiver, even though they get federal funding, to continue to discriminate based on the tenets of the religious belief of the organization that sponsors, owns, or facilitates the organization. In the past, not many of these have been applied for, but with the advancement of LGBT college students' rights, more and more have been applied. In the past 18 months, the Department of Education has granted 27 colleges and universities waivers. The majority are in the South and the West. And in 2014, those 27 schools, received $130 million in federal research grants and student aid. Carson-Newman University, a Baptist college in Tennessee, just received a special permission last week to ban students who are gay, unwed mothers, pregnant women, and women who've had an abortion. So this is one of those places where our equality, as we advance it, there are still loopholes and caveats that
I feel a
dogmatic
lawsuit coming
organizations. So it'll be interesting to see how this progresses. So
Don't
it's like
you think?
we've won some fights. Yeah, it has, except that to challenge that aspect of the law based on new interpretations, yes, we'll continue to see this fight through the legal system.
Well, it's what we've been saying all along. It's the theme of our new movie. It's with the rights that we have gained, we are seeing a lot of hatred spewed in the name of the Lord. It's almost always.
And I go to, if you want to run a bigoted Baptist or whatever university, you are welcome to. And if you do that off your donors and your subscribe, great. You can teach however you want to whoever wants to learn the way that you want to teach. But I would love it if we could see in the next year or two federal funding completely removed from any institution that chooses to operate that way.
I so agree.
All right, and real quick.
Okay, we have this was on Reddit. A young gay Redditor asked for advice, saying, "My dad is in his late 50s and he has a penchant."
A penchant?
Yes, he's got a good vocabulary for younger gay bros. And my younger, I mean young, my age. I'm in my 20s. The other night, we went to my friend's restaurant. The owner is a good friend of mine who I went to grade school with. My dad was hitting on him hard, and it was making me feel quite uncomfortable. Apparently, he goes to my friend's restaurant a lot. I saw in his phone, too, he has all these shirtless pictures of my friend saved on his camera roll. Here's where the questions start happening in my mind. Where'd you get them? This is really creeping me out. I also believe my dad has been helping out younger gay guys my age with college. Well, he's got a college fund. I don't know if they are having sex, though. This is really concerning me, and I don't know what to do. I thought he was past his midlife crisis, and then he asked for advice. What do I do? I read some.
What do you think?
Well, first of all, we always have to go, is it real or not? We don't know.
Well, who cares? Let's just assume it is.
I would say, Dad, I think I read one that I really liked. It said, you should start hitting on his friends his age and see in front of him and see how he reacts. I think there's a level of respect here. I think he needs to have a discussion with his dad.
Right.
I think, first of all, you have to say, Dad, I know what you're doing, and let's talk about this.
But like they're all because I'm presuming it's not so much about the age thing. It's like they're my friends.
Right.
So like go
Yes.
find 26-year-old homos all across the
Leave my
internet. Be
friends
like,
alone.
Dad, get on Grindr, have a great time. Stop hitting on people I know.
Maybe that's what the dad needs. It's permission to,
I don't feel like I feel like he's presumptive if he's hitting on his friends.
I like
don't
the way
feel
he's
like he
giving
needs-
them scholarships.
Well, that's my real concern. If I were the son, I would say, hey, are you spending my money? Are you spending my money that's supposed to eventually be mine on these on these other boys? Because that's the best. I get that. But if he shouldn't be age shaming, like who you like. But
Right,
stop hitting on
right.
my friends. It's weird.
Yeah, absolutely.
Uncomfortable. All right. I
More
love this next one.
penis.
Real quick. There is a new device that will help you perform a variety of pelvic floor exercises, Kegels, essentially, for men. It's called the Kegel. It can boost sexual stamina and prevent leaks from your bladder. And it kind of looks like a black and blue vagina.
It does.
Which
We have
is-
a picture of it.
Which is interesting because, I feel like gay men would be far more willing to try out interesting toys because we're more inclined to be open to a toy in the first place. But to make it look like a vagina seems like then we wouldn't be so interested. But it's basically a big pulsing button that you sit on. But it comes with a smartphone app, and it gives you a variety of exercises and activities centered around flexing that region between your penis and butt. I don't know why they didn't just write taint. It's a bunch of exercises for your taint. Taint the front, taint the back, it's the taint. And so you can play things like you can play little games with your taint on your smartphone, sitting on the Kegel. You could do it at work, nobody'd even know.
Or with your friends.
So tighten
What a good gift.
Yes, I wonder if there's games you like multiplayer where you could get like 5 friends over and everybody sitting on a Kegel and compete. Like, who's got the best
They're not
control?
available yet, right? They're having a Kickstarter or
Yeah, there are
something?
several of this kind of thing on the market. They're doing a Kickstarter and about halfway to their goal of 100,000. So if you and your friends would like to have a Kegel party and sit around and see whose taint is the tightest, hit up Kickstarter
Well, now,
and donate to Kegel.
I know you're always having Kickstarter envy with these kind of things. They're up to like $69,000 now.
Well, that's an appropriate number, I feel like, for a Kegel. 69,000. They should have made that the
See
goal.
what they're up to, John. I think this when I went on the air, it was like 60.
All right, and then a fun, silly Homo Holiday moment.
Oh yes, there were a giant penis Christmas light is in it's 6 feet tall in a penthouse
Braggarts.
window in Williamsburg. I had to get the original story that we from HuffPost gave voices, written by ironically Ron Dicker. Because it's so clever. His headline is Giant Penis Christmas Lights Are Well Hung But Arouse Scorn. An entire Brooklyn neighborhood got the shaft this holiday season. A 6-foot-high display of penis-shaped Christmas lights in a penthouse window reportedly has generated stiff opposition. It's rude and vulgar, Justin Abergungi told DNA Info. The lights were erected 2 weekends ago in the Williamsburg section of the borough, and an unidentified man said his roommate did it as a joke.
Well, I find it entertaining and good for them. And 6 feet, that's, 1 foot per average inch, I guess, or something. Well done, gentlemen.
It's nice.
Happy Homo Days. All right, in Trendsetter, we talked earlier, and here is the story about Caitlyn Jenner's most recent kerfuffle. She did a long Time magazine interview, and lots of pieces of the interview were really great about the journey in this year and what she's been through. But there was a portion of her talking about the importance she places on physical appearance that understandably upset a number of people. She said, I think it's much easier for a trans woman or a trans man who authentically kind of looks and plays the role. So what I call my presentation. I try to take that seriously. I think it puts people at ease. If you're out there, and to be honest with you, if you look like a man in a dress, it makes people uncomfortable. So that statement, it's interesting. I, more than some people, are willing to forgive sometimes her clunky statements for intent. But my greater issue here is not, that is probably factually true. The trans people that pass are less likely to receive strange looks from people that don't understand or don't know what's going on. But the problem is when she states it that way, it puts the onus on the trans person to make the other person comfortable, instead of working on that we as a society should accept people, whether you are a masculine-looking cisgender woman, or whether you are a queenie homosexual, or whether you are non-binary trans and genderqueer and presenting whatever you're in the mood to present that day. The onus shouldn't be on the person's presentation to make the stranger comfortable. And that's part of what is sort of implied. I don't think that's what she meant, but the phrase, a man in a dress, is clearly a horrifying thing in the trans community in general.
Well, I'm sort of getting tired of defending her. I really am. I mean, we've been doing it for every time she has a faux pas, every time she slips up, and and I've said it many, many times, and I will continue to watch her show, and I will continue to support her. But I don't know if it's a lack of just. I don't want to. I could get in trouble here. Maybe she's just not as smart as some of us.
Well, I mean,
or hasn't developed that side of her brain because she's been in the limelight so long, and been a celebrity so long that she doesn't really think at all sometimes.
Yeah.
And there's such a narcissism that it's so fucking insulting. And I'm kind of getting on the Julie Goldman train, where she said Bruce Jenner was an asshole and Caitlyn Jenner is an asshole too. And
well,
I want her to do better for us and for herself. I do.
Yeah, but here is my counter to that, because another part of the interview, she said, I got to the point where every day I was living authentically, but what does all this mean? What does this thing that you have had in your head for so many years mean? It's more than makeup and clothes and all that other stuff. And what is that? I'm working on that. There's still a lot to learn about being a woman. So I think these statements...
This was her apology?
No, this was in that same interview. That piece was this was one horrifying pull quote out of it. And it's genuinely terrible, because this is the fear and the accusation that so many trans, particularly women, get thrown at them. You're just a man in a dress, which is definitively not true. And so I think the narcissism is right. I think it's interesting that how well calculated a lot of her release and public statements have been, that there aren't people who have sat down and said, here are the things you just cannot say, even if you're talking about your own experience. I think a lot of people are frustrated with her obsession with physical appearance, but I counter with, yes, but the level of celebrity that she had before, that she has had for 30 years, it's impossible not to be aware that when you leave the house, people are going to take your photo's being taken. The worst thing that could have happened, frankly, is if she had looked terrible. Like, we kind of don't acknowledge that if Caitlyn had presented to the world and not done the fashion and the hair and the makeup that is unfortunately stereotypical feminine presentation, the headlines and accusations and judgment would have been even far worse. So I do still sympathize somewhat with it. She has to know that. She has to kill it every time she leaves the house, which isn't fair to her. It's certainly not fair to judge the rest of the trans community that way, but I'm still willing to let her continue to learn. And she put out an apology, which I understand you and Julie and many people that are frustrated with hearing continuous apologies.
Which is always, the apologies always have help, by the way.
Well, of course, but so do the interviews. But the flip side is, it took several months for her to get to the first horrifying faux pas. I think very few celebrities... Look, Danny Pintaro came out HIV positive and immediately said several things HIV people hated.
You're right.
You know, people come out and they're suddenly spokespeople and they say terrible things. It took her longer than most.
But let's go back to what she just said. And here's what I think that maybe it's because I'm narcissistic, you're narcissistic. If we're in this business, we're narcissistic to a degree. I mean, come on, we like to be in the public eye. But I feel like that I'm empathetic. And I feel like that statement lacks empathy for people. I really do. I feel like that you're not putting yourself in. It's just like,
no,
be like me.
I totally disagree. I think it's empathetic for the wrong people. because she is saying, I think it puts other people at ease. She is concerned about the perception of her, those people being comfortable so that she can talk about who she is. The problem is her empathy should be with the trans people as the
that's what
as
I
the
meant.
victim of the judgment.
That's what exactly.
But
what
I don't think
meant.
it. But it's not all lacking empathy. It's misplaced empathy.
Okay.
She's concerned with how people perceive her, that person be comfortable, so I can talk about this in my experience. But she's not. But this statement is damaging to the community. I don't think it's that she doesn't care. I don't think you can look at what she's done and say that she's not doing her best. I think people are just frustrated that her best isn't enough for her to be the most high-profile trans person in America.
She needs to take a breath before she speaks sometimes. She really does. Because you can't read this and think that's okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
All right.
But
and
you
then,
didn't say her apology.
we don't got time. She said she apologized. And finally, what's gay in Sportsball? A terrible thing happened with an NBA referee, Bill Kennedy, was officiating a game when Sacramento Kings player Rajon Rondo was thrown out of the game, and he said, "You're a motherfucking faggot. You're a fucking faggot, Billy." Well, the complicating portion of this story is after it happened, Bill Kennedy, the referee, came out of the closet, which means that he actually is, and so this wasn't and of course, the player and the Kings have tried to say it was caught up in the moment, but as Sid Ziegler at Outsports, who, of course, I get all of our What's Gay in Sportsball stories from, pointed out, if that does not live in you, it is not there to say in anger.
There you go.
If you do not think that, if you do not see that as a negative thing, as something lesser, it does not live in you to toss it out as a slur to someone else. So Bill Kennedy has come forward as an out gay man, and he said, "I am proud to be an NBA referee and proud to be a gay man, following in the footsteps of others who have self-identified in the hopes that it will send a message to young men and women in sports that you must allow no one to make you feel ashamed of who you are." So huge applause to Bill.
Absolutely.
All the boos to Rajon. And
I was at the gym today, and they are reporting that he has been suspended for a game. So
good.
So and then
words matter. That's all we got.
That's all we have for today. We had a great time with y'all. It's always a pleasure to be at ubnradio.com. Tony Sweet is next, and
it's a happy Homo holiday. Thanks for listening. I'll be gone next week in Dallas. I'll probably get to call in at the beginning of the show and
we
say,
hope.
Hey.
We just hope.
We're just I know. Just what can you do? And with an incredible, very sorted Christmas cast of characters to take my spot and more than fill it in. Thank you guys for listening. You'll
be back for our New Year's show, though.
Yeah.
So this isn't our last show together. Before
we'll do our year-end wrap-up.
So thank you guys for listening. Thanks for making us the #1 show here and all of that stuff, and we appreciate you. Tony Sweet's next, and then Jasper Cole, and then Ann Walker.
Bye, y'all!
Now that you've found UBN Radio and discovered our quality talk shows, it's time to spread the word to friends, family, and the universe. 24 hours of music and talk. Radio without limits. That's why people keep coming back from